Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
Los Angeles.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Monday, September 15th. September's halfway over. Somehow the LA Galaxy still not eliminated from the playoffs. We said if they could get to October, it would at least make it interesting. They have survived one more game. Funny enough, only one single elimination scenario that actually happens this weekend, where the LA Galaxy will be facing off against FC Cincinnati. So a lot of stuff to watch, a lot of things to talk about. The 2-2 draw up in Seattle, surprising? Yes, surprising. We'll talk about that. But to help me do all that, he is filling in once again, and possibly, because I know Kevin's supposed to be back next week, possibly for the last time this season, hopefully not, we'll have him on for sure, but it is Mr. Damian Calhoun. Damian, how's it going, buddy?
How you doing? Are we sure Kevin's back next week?
He texted me and he said that he would. This was it. You know, he said he's really enjoying you on the pod. That's a complete lie, because he doesn't listen to the podcast when he's on. He would never listen when somebody else is on. So, not a thing. But yes, Damian, as we before we even get too deep in, I do want to say thank you for filling in. One is I think you know this, that I enjoy covering the LA Galaxy with you. We have a great time. You are a wealth of information. You're amazingly professional. You write stories wonderfully. Southern California News Group. Go check out Damian Calhoun. You're reliable on your information, all that stuff. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming in and stepping in a little bit for Kevin.
Thank you. Next time, let me know when you're going to say that so I can record it and play it for my boss.
That's the great thing, is this is the internet, baby. This stuff never dies, which scares me to death, by the way. There's plenty of stupid things that I've said over the years that is just out there ready for people to find and just, you know, screen clip and put out there. So, yeah, welcome to the stupidity family here, because if you say it on here, it is recorded. And as the chat room says, thank you, Damian. The chat room also thinks that you're great. So, yeah, just shoot your boss this link, and you'll be golden, man. I think that's a raise, guaranteed.
Hey, there you go. I need that.
Seattle. We were fairly certain, Damian, that the Galaxy stood absolutely no chance of beating Seattle. Seattle was getting healthier. I even had to say in postgame to Greg Vanny, I go, you know, not a lot of people, myself included, gave you guys a real chance in this game. You know, I think that's good to sort of fall at the altar sometimes and realize, you know, it's Major League Soccer and anything can happen. If you watched any of the games over the weekend, by the way, craziness ensued all over the place. Sure. The 5-4 game in Atlanta was definitely one of them. So looking at that, how do you, big picture, look at Seattle and say, you know, sort of where was this team at the beginning of the season when they were going 16 games winless?
Yeah, I mean, man, it's just the last couple of weeks have been strange, really. But you look at, you know, new faces are getting extended playing time, and that's sort of bringing hunger, and they're not giving up. I mean, sometimes you've seen this team go down, you know, 2-0, 2-1 late. It turns into 3-1 or something like that. But yeah, even you know, a pretty good deal, a pretty good amount of rotation where late in the game he's bringing on guys like Cuevas, Tucker Lepley came on late, and they're bringing fresh legs that are just, you know, just not giving up, because they're playing with something to prove as well. I mean, they're trying to fight their way into the plans for next year. So you've seen that the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, you have, and certainly there's a sort of play the kids movement, and I think some of that, as Greg Vanny explained to us a couple weeks ago, is going to be by necessity, just with all the injuries and everything that's going on, absences, so all that sort of certainly adds to it. But also, it is time to find out what these quote unquote kids can do. They're professional. These are professional athletes. The youngest among them, like Harbor Miller. It has already been said. Vanny already said it. He needs to be playing at this level, right? So it's already been ordained in that. The Vanny twins, the Vanny brothers, were playing at Ventura County yesterday against RSL as well. So there was. I still think, just between you and me, because nobody else needs to hear this, I still think Dylan Vanny should get a call up before the end of this year. I think Dylan Vanny should play up at the first team. Yes?
Funny you should say that, because I talked to Greg the other day. I think it was Thursday after media day.
Right.
I mean, when you talk youth soccer with him, it could go on for 40, 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
I think it probably did.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, watching Dylan, he seems to be a kid that should be with the first team.
Yeah.
He should be with the first team. That's hands down. So what do they have? 6 games left. So maybe something can happen where they can get him up there and maybe get an appearance. You got to sign him first, right? I mean, you got to. That's another big step. They're still juniors, I think, in high school. So I mean, a lot of steps to take, but I think he should be up there. And then Mason's right behind him. Second start with Ventura County. I think it went 90 minutes this time.
Mm-hmm.
If fans up there, keep an eye on the brothers. There's a younger one coming up behind him as well.
Yeah, it is something as we watch. You can again. I almost think that the nepotism might be working against Dylan Vanny at this point, because it's sort of like, hey, Dad wants you to go to college, right? Like you can sort of feel Greg sort of pushing at that and saying you need to go to college type thing. And I think Dylan's like, I can play pro ball. Like put me in, coach. Get my dad out of the way.
Put me in, Dad.
Yeah.
I think going to college it's not a waste, but if you're a pro soccer player. It might be just a waste of a couple of years, probably. Who knows?
You can always go to college, Damian. You can always go back. You can always go back. That's right, 100%. Yeah. So, by the way, and we should notice before we even get into the sort of Seattle game and everything else, we need to talk about Riqui Puig, because we said that there would be a decision on Thursday. On Friday came and went, no international slot. I was able to report that the LA Galaxy did not make any moves during the roster freeze deadline. They did not acquire an international slot. They didn't move anybody to free up an international slot, and default, Riqui Puig will not play this season. Not even in Campeones Cup, by the way. That the roster freezes also relate to Campeones Cup. So there is no Riqui Puig in 2025. We had a pretty good talk, Eric and I did, about sort of using hindsight to sort of say, oh, well, you could have put him on the season-ending injury list. It doesn't do a whole bunch for you. So if you miss that conversation, because I still get people coming in, they're like, should have done that, should have done, the whole deal. I'm like, hindsight is really easy whenever you're looking at it. And I'll say that the Galaxy also had an argument for not doing it. So again, if the Galaxy, Damian, were suddenly close to the playoffs. Let's pretend it again. We did this on Thursday. People didn't get it. This is a play, but we're in the alternate universe where the LA Galaxy are, 4th, 5th in the Western Conference right now, because they struggled a little bit early on without Riqui Puig, but they figured it out. They got the whole thing. They're there, and now if they were going to head towards the playoffs, there's a possibility that in these last 5 games that you could see somebody like Riqui Puig come back and then be available for a playoff push. That was sort of the idea whenever it was happening at the beginning of the season. That's not crazy. That was what we were all thinking at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, I thought if he met all his on his steps on his progress back, if he was healthy enough, he should have gave him a run out. But then you think about it, it's still less than a year since the injury.
Yep.
So maybe you sort of got to protect him from himself a little bit there.
Yeah.
Still less than a year away. Now, what are the plans in the offseason? Are there going to be? Does he go out on loan somewhere?
That was what somebody was talking about. What do you do for postseason? Because Greg Vanny even said, whenever I asked him about it, he said there has to be a postseason plan for him to sort of get him the things that he needs. And what he needs is game minutes.
Yeah,
And so maybe it is a loan, maybe you'll pull David Beckham, go to AC Milan for a little bit and play, like that. Maybe not. But if he goes, he won't come back. That's sort of my whole thing. If Riqui goes on loan somewhere, he's not coming back.
Do they schedule friendlies or something in like right in that period where the season ends and the playoffs are still going, that international break, whatever?
Right.
Do they schedule something there if they can, or because camp is going to start back up in
January,
mid-January?
Yeah, probably, or like second and a half week, third week of January, right there, because there's CONCACAF Champions Cup as well. So the Galaxy will start early in order to get prep for that.
Yeah, I don't think you want him to go right into that. So there has to be some loan or friendlies or something just to get him back up. I mean, you can send him down to Ventura County for a while. You can want to, but
they're not going to be playing games for much longer either, are they? Because that's going to end here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know where they are in the standings, but if they're not in the playoffs, then I think they're pretty much out of it too. So yeah, they're going to need to be some kind of plan, which I'm sure they thought of every situation.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's one of those to watch as it goes, but really excited to see whenever he does finally get back. By the way, there's reports sort of out there that he's back with training with the first team, and that's not Greg even told us that wasn't the whole truth. Basically, he's doing some rondos and stuff like that, and then he's getting out of there again and doing stuff on the side. So that's not first team training. First team training is whenever you actually go to the first team, you stay there the whole time, you do all the drills that are required of everybody, and you're part of the first team. So, we haven't seen that. Whether or not that's progressed in the last couple of weeks, could have, but I don't think we've seen that. So I don't think anybody's expecting it. So that is the update on Riqui Puig. And then it was all sort of looking. Galaxy flew on Friday up to Seattle. They got to Seattle. They get there. They wake up in Seattle. They have their Starbucks at Pike's Place Market, the only place, one of the original Starbucks there. They go out and they play this game. Damian, we can give the starting lineup because I think it gives good context of everything that happened. But it was Miki Yamane, Maya Yoshida, Chris Rindolph now. Multiple starts now for Chris Rindolph. John Nelson starting again. Novak Micovic in goal. You had Edwin Cerrillo, Diego Fagundes, and Elijah Wynder. It was Harbor Miller, Miguel Berry, and Joseph Paintsel playing all together there. Remember that Gabriel Peck was suspended on yellow cards, and then there were a whole bunch of injuries in this, including Aude and I think Garces and who else am I missing? Like there's like three or four.
But Marco Royce was out. Christian Ramirez was out.
Nascimento was out.
Nascimento's still out.
Yep, that type of thing. Yeah.
There was a lot of guys out.
They're going to build a hospital ward here pretty soon at training center just to have everybody. And this is what I think is actually happening because people are like, why are there so many people injured? The season's over. And so now all the guys who are sort of nursing things and trying to get through and trying to rest. And by the way, they're still sort of looking at Campeones Cup, which is coming up rather quickly. But they're looking at that as the last sort of big game that they have to play in and the last sort of thing. And so to me, it's like we always hear after the playoffs or after MLS Cup or whenever you do it, like almost then you start talking to all the guys. They're like, no, I've been injured for the last like 2.5 months. Like I can barely walk, right? One of those. So I think that's what it is more than, why is everybody injured and they just suddenly got injured? No, they've been injured for a while and they're just letting these guys rest a little bit. So that was the starting lineup. I will say that in the first half, watching Miguel Berry play up top was painful to watch. The Galaxy tried to get stuff going through him. There was not a lot there. Again, no Christian Ramirez, so there's not even really option to sort of play in there. Miguel Berry's probably the only guy really you have on there. It's not a diss on Miguel Berry, but he hasn't gotten started this year, and he hasn't looked like he's been part of this cohesive team that the Galaxy have wanted. And he was such a big part of the MLS Cup year where he'd come off the bench and really provide something and try to in limited spurts and limited minutes. But I was sort of disappointed by that. I think that in the first half, looking at Joseph Paintsel, sort of getting just 2 and 3 guys over on him every time he got the ball. This is what happens when you only have one DP on the field, right, Damian? We talked about it earlier in the year too.
Yeah.
Whenever they started and they were having all this problem, and it was Gabriel Peck who was available, and there was no Riqui and there was no Joseph Paintsel, and then Peck is just getting double and triple teamed the whole time, and probably affected a lot of how he played this year, just by how everything started. So we saw that. There were some positives in the first half, and it's kind of crazy to say that just because the Galaxy go down sort of in that 2-0, and it's not crazy. Going down in the 5th minute to Seattle, not surprising, right? And you're sort of sitting there going, okay, that makes some sense in the whole deal. Giving up another one because it was Ferreira, by the way. Ferreira's having a great year. Then you had Masovsky, who's having a good year too. So now it's 2-0 in the 41st minute. I can skip over a lot of what happened in between, Damian, because there wasn't a lot that happened. Micovic had to make 2 really good saves. There was definitely some, in my opinion, some confusion and some things they needed to work out on the back line in that first half to try to figure out some of this. And when you don't have Amiro Garces and there's no speed, there is no substitute for speed on the back line. Those center backs get picked apart pretty easily. So I sort of saw that as well. But the big two, there's 2 players that sort of emerge in my mind in this game. One is Novak Micovic playing back at goalkeeper, and one is Miki Yamane. Those were sort of my standout players in this game. And Micovic even had some stuff happen in the first half where I thought he played pretty well. You look at that first half, and yes, you can look at the set piece that ends up being a goal for the LA Galaxy with the header by Yoshida. And Yoshida suddenly is like, scoring goals. He's striker extraordinaire. He's moving everywhere, Damian, that type of thing. But, I just thought that the first half and that first 40-something minutes, 41, 42, it just never felt like, yes, the Galaxy had possession, but, did they have danger? And I didn't feel like there was danger. They also had like 8 or 9 corner kicks, which I think also plays into the set piece goal that they score at the end of that first half as well. But it just didn't feel like everything was clicking, right?
Yeah, the Seattle scored so fast. I missed it before I actually got home and got settled up. They had already scored. But yeah, they did earn a lot of corners early there. But some of them were wasted, of course. But then the one they really scored on, I think they sort of worked on that Thursday. Don't tell anybody. I sort of looked over the fence and I saw them working on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it was going the other way Thursday. So yeah, that was a pretty good work on that one. But to go down 2-0, you're thinking, okay, this could be, if you get to halftime 2-0, count yourself lucky there. But to get to go 2-1 sort of, kept you alive there and sort of had Seattle thinking, okay, this is not going to be a walkover here.
Yeah, you could sort of see it. I will say that, for Novak had to make 2 or 3 really good saves. Ended up making 7 saves total, I believe, on the night. Had 2 go behind him, but came up with some really big saves, especially in the second half. And I think the aggressiveness really sort of kicked up in the second half. I actually made a comment in the Discord that I thought the initial couple saves that Micovic made, which, by the way, kept the Galaxy in the game 100%. This game could have been 3-0, 4-0, pretty easily. But I felt like he was a little too timid coming off the line, that there was a little bit of hesitancy. And I wrote in the Discord that that's what I saw. And I was like, that really needs to, this is one of the reasons why there's sort of question marks around this position and whether or not you're going to do it, the whole deal. And watching the second half and watching the aggressiveness come up, because there was one big play in the first half that sort of indicated that not everything was okay. And it was a little bit of a warning sign. There was a ball that got played in behind Miki Yamane, and Miki turned around expecting that Micovic was going to come off his line because the ball got played way in behind. And so there was plenty of room there. And Miki thought that Micovic should come off his line. Micovic didn't. Miki had to come back. The Galaxy ended up covering it. But I think a shot got off and it went back for a goal kick or something like that, or however it happened. And the camera zoomed in and there was Micovic telling Miki to be quiet, basically. Like Miki was yapping at him. And Micovic was like, I'm not having any of it, the whole deal. And you're sort of like, okay, Greg made note of that situation in his post game, talking about that, saying, that I think there was some balls played in behind that, he could have been more aggressive with. And I think that sort of determined how he played in the first half. Still made some great saves, but you wanted, a little bit more out of him. Watching that second half and watching how aggressive he was, Damian, I was like, that's where all that's supposed to be. And I think that Greg said that he talked to Kevin Hartman, who's the LA Galaxy goalkeeper, and said, Kevin's like, you need to be more aggressive. You need to come out. And if you watched in the last couple seconds, especially as Seattle was trying to steal the game back and get all 3 points in that, he had to come out a couple times and punch, or come out a couple times and grab the ball or do some stuff. And he was able to do that and sort of keep Seattle out of the goal. So, for everything that I just said, I thought Micovic was my man of the match. I know Miki Yamane certainly is up there, and whenever you look at the rankings, you understand why. But for me, watching what he was able to do in that second half, and certainly what he was able to keep them in the first half, that's the Novak Micovic that you want to see for the LA Galaxy. And if he does that, I think the LA Galaxy have, a stone cold starter and they don't have to worry about next year. That just to me has to be more consistent. And if we can see that, then I think we get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the plus and minuses of having a young goalkeeper. He's going to have those great moments and have those moments where you're scratching your head like, well, what's he doing? What did he see there? And Court, I mean, he didn't play the last game. Marcin Kalsi played the last game. So
right.
with 6 games left, are they gonna go game on, game off?
Yeah,
or
right.
Does Novak get the rest of the season or what? So I mean, every game and starting for him is just a plus, more experience for him going into next year and seeing what I think they sort of know what Marcin Kalsi can do.
Right.
But maybe there's still something to find out about Novak here.
I think there is. I think it's one of the question mark positions for the LA Galaxy is sort of the goalkeeper. And it's only a question mark because, I think McCarthy, you can look after the winning MLS Cup and then Novak comes in and starts at the beginning of the year. Remember, we watched all that play out. Then Novak goes out again, and John McCarthy comes back in. Then eventually the losing streak continues, the non-winning streak continues. And then Micovic comes back in and he's sort of settled into that one spot. And I think he's been there watching Marcin Kalsi play. JT can play in this league. Everybody knows that. I really think he's a top-notch veteran as well, right? Like whenever you're putting people together and you're doing the whole thing. So I'm just interested to see how that plays out. I would expect right now that both of them are back for next year, because I don't think the Galaxy want to get rid of Micovic. And I think that, Marcin Kalsi is a good enough goalkeeper. Now, Marcin Kalsi is a good enough goalkeeper. Other people might want him, right? So that's another thing. Oh, he's showing that he can still play, because remember, it was almost 18 months, I think he said, without a play. Yeah. So, now it's like, how good is he in terms of how ready is he to return and all that. So that's going to be the question mark. I think that we're sort of going to see maybe play out in the next 6 games with Campeones Cup, and how that sort of goes for the LA Galaxy in the offseason. Because otherwise, if you're going to start moving those pieces around, now there's other questions like to sort of answer as well. So backup goalkeepers and everything else. But I really thought Micovic had a great second half, so well in fact that I thought he deserved to be sort of the man of the match on the whole thing, just because Seattle did have some chances. You can look at the XG. The XG tells you the story of how many chances Seattle actually had. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. Here it is. The Galaxy, Seattle, almost 3.5 goals, 3.4. But the Galaxy at 2.9, almost at 3. So when you look at both of that, the 2-2 is like, okay, that makes some sense there. But if Micovic is good enough, whenever you think that he allowed 2, but that he kept 1.4 off, that doesn't really work that way. It probably ends up being that like he saved them half a goal or maybe even more in that game. If your goalkeeper's saving you over a half a goal, you have a good goalkeeper. And I think Novak did that in the second half for sure. Again, just in terms of like guys who stood out in this game, I thought Micovic really stood out in that game, and that's a good sign for the LA Galaxy, because he's still 4 years away from being like a prime goalkeeper, right? I mean, he's like, he could be 6 years from being a prime goalkeepers. You can play until you're 40, and they seem to peak whenever they're in their late 20s, 26, 27, 28, 29 in there, and Micovic isn't that old yet. How old is Novak? Do you remember?
Like
he is
24, right?
He's 23 right now. 23.
23.
Yeah. So he's so young.
So young.
So you're 5 years away from 28, where he should be in his prime. But where is he going to play in that prime, right? So like, is he want to be in LA for that whole time, or the Galaxy just going to develop him and then he'll go off and play somewhere else in his prime? So again, it's an important thing to sort of watch as this goes down. So that was one. The other player on this is Miki Yamane. Miki Yamane scores his first goal as an LA Galaxy player, finally, after hitting the post so many times, after having balls cleared off lines. In 2024, it was hysterical that he didn't get a goal because there were so many times when you thought he was going to get one in there. And we've seen throughout this year, there's been chances for it. But Miki Yamane comes in, and I think if we're looking at the totality of his performance this year, a little mixed bag for Miki Yamane, right? We haven't seen him be maybe as dynamic as he was in 2024. Maybe there's some MLS Cup hangover. What do you see whenever you see Miki Yamane?
Yeah, he was so good last year, first year in the U.S., and just was solid all the way through. This year has been some ups and downs What do you point that to? I don't even know. Maybe it's the short turnaround from last year. Or maybe it's a little bit of everything. But yeah, he's one of those guys where you ever go to training. He's one of the last. Early in the year, he's one of the last guys off.
Yep.
He's always with a ball, juggling a ball up in the air. He just loves soccer, I guess. But yeah, it's been an up and down year, but he's a pro, like I said. And for him to get that goal, it has to be a big moment for him to finally get that first MLS goal.
Yeah, you could see it. We got to talk to Greg Vanny and Maya Yoshida after the game. I asked Maya Yoshida so here's the thing. There's a fun little like relationship, obviously, that Miki and Maya have, right? And Maya's always telling Miki that he has to speak English to everybody, right? He's like, no, you need to speak English. And so if we would have been at the game, like we would have been in the stadium, and like he would be that, we would have got Maya Yoshida to go grab Miki and have him come in and talk to us in English, right, and do the whole thing, because Maya's real big on that. But I asked Maya, I said, normally you'd have him come in and talk to us, Maya, but what did Miki tell you about scoring his first goal? And Maya got a big grin on his face, and he chuckled to himself a little bit before he answered. You can watch the video of this. The Galaxy have posted it, but he goes, Miki said, "I am happy," right? The whole deal. And it's just like, it's exactly what Miki would have said if he was in front of us. So it was good to see that happen. I'll say this, that I thought Miki Yamane in this game was sort of that driving force that you've been looking for, because when Miki's good, he's driving from that position on the right-hand side. He gets the ball, there's space, he moves into the space, and he makes people make decisions. And you're sort of able to see him do that in this game multiple times. Come into space, dish off, and create, overloads and mismatches and everything else. The other part of this, I think, with Joseph Paintsel being on the left-hand side, was watching sort of Miki being they were shading 2 and 3 guys over to Joe's side, right? Was watching Miki sort of be able to run into space on the right side because they weren't necessarily concerned with him. And so just watching sort of those things play off each other. Greg Vanny talked about Miki Yamane, and he goes, well, I said, what does it mean that Miki Yamane scored that goal? And he goes, commitment. He goes, because that's a guy who's coming from a defensive position, right? And he's going to be the guy who's going to get into an offensive position and score a goal. And he goes, and just go watch that play again. So it's at the end of the game, just a little bit before the 90-minute strike. The ball sort of gets played down, and I believe Maya Yoshida is up at striker at the time because they had him up at striker. And I believe Maya actually brings the ball down, or at least heads it, and it gets redirected or something like that. The ball gets kicked out to Mauricio Cuevas. Now Cuevas drives into the box. He takes a really big first touch, which pushes him into the box. Seattle defender comes over thinking he can get there, Damian, and Mauricio is just the tiniest bit quicker. He slides and kicks the ball back towards the center. Tucker Lepley was also in at this point. Tucker Lepley then sees that ball, and he's trying to get it, so he slides into the ball, knocking it sideways to get over to Miki Yamane, who slides and then buries the ball in the back of the net. Unofficially confirmed the first time in MLS history that 3 players all slid in the same play that leads to a goal. But just the running and the starting point for Miki Yamane on that is one from a defensive position, right? It's all the way in the back. If you want to think of like Landon Donovan in Algeria, right, where he's starting all the way in the back on his own side and coming all the way down and have to keep driving and keep running and keep going. And at this play, Miki's not even involved in that play. He doesn't know where it's going to be, but he just knows he has to get in the center there. And he shows up there to sort of put that away. So again, a good confidence thing for Miki Yamane, especially in these last 5-6 games, and sort of what he can do, because he's an important part, I think, of this LA Galaxy team. And when he's playing well, I think the LA Galaxy play a lot better. So I just always like Miki Yamane as a player. I think he can be really good, but we need to see more moments like we saw in this game from Miki Yamane, because that's what we saw in 2024.
Yeah, he was so durable last year. Did he miss a game last year? I'm not even...
He did. He must have, because I think Maya was the only one who didn't miss a game last year, right? So It was Maya who played in every single game. I think Miki must have missed some games, or at least one in that time.
Yeah. He came over and just adjusted. I mean, of course, it's always a struggle of adjusting to a new country and a new style of play, and a new team and everything. But he sort of came in, jumped right in, and was just solid all through last year.
Yep. It was funny. Joe says Maya is our third best defender, but our best healthy striker right now. This is multiple times, Damian, that we've seen Maya Yoshida employed in that. Greg Vanny calls it out exactly what it is. He's like, Maya's going forward. He can get on the ball. He's basically, somebody said he's like the new Alan Gordon super sub. He is kind of that guy. I mean, we should give credit because I think it's unfair not to, but the header on the backside from that set piece goal. Let me set up the set piece goal for the LA Galaxy here. It is Diego Fagundes and Joseph Paintsel. It is about 24, 25 yards on the left center of the box. And Joseph Paintsel and Diego Fagundes are standing over it. Eventually, Fagundes peels off to the left-hand side. Joseph Paintsel then plays that ball, plays it to Edwin Cerrillo. Cerrillo immediately passes that ball back where Paintsel kicks it out to Fagundes. Now that Fagundes is out on that side, he's now open on the left-hand side. He puts that ball and crosses it through the center, and it's Maya Yoshida on the back post, who was very much unmarked on that back post, and the ball goes into the back of the net. Surprising for me that Seattle was so lackadaisical in that moment, and also in the moment where, Miki Yamane scores a goal. There should be no there's no scenario that I could have played through in my head where Seattle would have allowed 2 goals. You're talking about one of the better defensive teams in Major League Soccer, Damian, one that has handled the LA Galaxy with relative ease. Some of that maybe is the fact that it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, right? And so it's like, man, let's see sort of how that happens, right? Certainly, I think there's a Leagues Cup hangover a little bit from Seattle. People are saying, well, they rotated. They've only rotated as far as they've had all their injuries. They were actually getting guys back. Jordan Morris came back. Yeah. I think De Rosario was actually he might have been injured for a little bit, and he played in this game as well. There were a couple guys that got back who have been injured in this game and came back and played for them. So maybe that sort of led a little bit to some unfamiliarity for a small portion of time there from Seattle. But I can't imagine Brian Schmetzer, after being up 2-0, was thrilled about going 2-2 at home.
No, I mean, of course, they also have another game with Inter Miami on Tuesday.
Rematch.
So it's like, rematch.
But Damian, I mean, if you are Brian Schmetzer, you tell everybody, hey, focus on this LA game because you're a better team than them. You're at home. The Miami game is whatever. Throw that game out. It doesn't matter right now. That Tuesday game, I don't even care if we go to that game. It's too far away. It's against an Eastern Conference opponent. We're in a good playoff spot. It doesn't matter as much to us right now. Beat LA, and you have all the points you need. Now they have to take Miami more seriously than maybe they would have. But you could certainly see that they were not the same sort of intensity that we saw in Leagues Cup. Certainly not the same intensity we saw whenever they beat the LA Galaxy 4-0. That was a Seattle team that easily should have handled the LA Galaxy. I was sort of shocked and surprised by it, quite honestly.
If you look at those last 2 games, they get up early and they just take control of the game, almost put it in a chokehold, and they sort of find a way to get a 3rd goal in that 4-0 game, and sort of just take control of that one, put a 4th one in late, and then the 2-1 game, was it 2-1 or 2-0?
It was 2-0, 2-0, 4-0.
Yeah. So it's like they're up 2-0, but the Galaxy, they're never really in that game. They just sort of took control of it and just said, "You're not going to do anything, but we're gonna see this out."
Yeah.
But Saturday, they didn't do it. The Galaxy found a way to nick a goal and then come back with the equalizer.
Seattle is certainly a place the Galaxy haven't won in like forever. I was looking though for draws, and there was, I think, in 2024 the Galaxy went up to Seattle and got a draw, right? And there was like other ones, like 2022 the Galaxy went up to Seattle and got a draw, and I was sort of like, oh man, when was the last time? I was all excited to look up a stat and then to get, there was one last year. That's right. Okay, that type of thing. It wasn't as much fun. Elijah Wynder for me, another good game from Elijah Wynder. I really think, I'm seeing a lot of, and I call it revisionist history, but maybe it's just not understanding that, that people are saying, Greg Vanny had these kids to play and he knew it, and he should have played them more. We watched the kids play at the beginning of the season. Some of those kids were not ready to play, Damian. I think Elijah Wynder was one of those, right? We sort of saw like little tiny glimpses, but you're like, oh, I'm not sure that'll work. Nascimento saw little tiny glimpses, but we were like, that dude shouldn't be playing right now. Like, the whole thing. Why does Nascimento start over Christian Ramirez? Well, eventually Nascimento suddenly looked like he was the number 9, and you're like, oh, there's that guy that the Galaxy had got on loan and are thinking about buying. That's the guy who's there. we're starting to see that. Harbor Miller was one of those, I think, at the beginning of the year that was sort of like, yep, he could play, right? It was, we all saw that whenever it was happening. But again, he's young. And I think that, just simply throwing him onto a team and saying you have to play every day in and out, or not getting the developmental time that you need, like at Ventura County, so you can go down and play in games, and you're training, you're doing all that stuff, so that way you can continue to develop yourself, is also a disservice. You look at Elijah Wynder, one of those, went down to Ventura County, got more comfortable where he was. I don't think, and I'm really high on Wynder. I continue to be, because one is, I think, grabbing guys from USL that have sort of this upside in this window, even for $400,000, which was a big number going from USL to Major League Soccer. In my mind, that's a little bit of a risk, but something that probably should happen more often than it does. Wynder comes in, big body, loves to gobble up space, is a better defender than he is sort of an offensive player, but we're starting to see that offensive side of him. He's able to be that box-to-box guy a little bit more. So I think there's been development into the second half of the season that allows guys like Elijah Wynder to make an impact now and look like they belong, where at the beginning of the season we were sort of questioning whether or not they could play at that level.
Yeah, like we talked about it before. I mean, the kid had been at Louisville for like forever, I think. And this is his first move out. Took him a while. I mean, he played early in the year. Fell out of the rotation a little bit, but you can see him now. He's put in the work down in Ventura County, fought his way back. It's sort of intriguing because he's a taller build, but he can get low, he can get high. I remember talking to Will Kunzenbaum early in the year before they left for Indio. He said it reminded him a little of Mark Anthony Kaye a little bit that he had when they were at LAFC. You can sort of see that a little bit. I mean, Mark Anthony Kaye, he's a professional, still playing somewhere in MLS. I think in New England, I believe.
Might be,
maybe
yeah.
San Jose. I'm not even sure. One of them. Yeah, you can sort of see what he said there. You can see the build, the body, and then just the style of playing low if he has to, and then also getting going forward there, jumping into the attack.
Yeah. Again, continue to be high on Wynder, and I'm interested to see exactly how he sort of develops and what playing time he sort of looks like for here in the very, very near future. Let's see. I was trying to find it. San Jose right now, by the way. Mark Anthony Kaye. Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's one of the guys who followed Bruce from New England to San Jose.
Yeah, New England, by the way, fired their coach today, Caleb Porter, who was once courtside at an LA Lakers game with Chris Klein and company. It looked destined to be the LA Galaxy's next coach.
Yeah, that was a crazy night.
We were all like, what's going on? The whole deal. So we saw that, and then eventually that became Greg Vanney, right? So interesting how did that happen, or was it that time? Yeah, it was that time, wasn't it? Or was he Guillermo
GBS?
It might have been GBS. It's probably GBS.
I think it was Scalotto, yeah.
Everything mixes together now for me, Damian. 17 years in, I can't remember. I know what happened. I just don't know what year it was or anything. But I think it ended up being Guillermo Scalotto. So now you see Caleb Porter out at New England, right? So that's one of the coaches that will be thrown into the mix whenever it comes to the offseason.
Yeah.
So seeing that. So on the whole for the LA Galaxy, a 2-2 draw for me was unexpected. A point on the road is unexpected, and for the LA Galaxy to sort of come in there and stun Seattle a little bit. That place got real quiet there. And whenever Miki Yamane scored that goal, if you go back and watch some of the videos and stuff like that, you can hear you can hear the Galaxy bench cheering, and it almost sounds like it's echoing inside of a large cavern there. We can look at the player ratings. It was Miki Yamane at an 8.4 that had the highest player rating out of anybody. It was the Seattle Sounders, by the way, who had a 7.0 rating, and the Galaxy had a 6.9, so fairly even match in terms of that. 7.6 for Micovic, which was the second highest. The third highest, because Diego Fagundes in the center. We didn't even mention Diego Fagundes. This is another one of those performances, Damian, to me, that is just like the veterans out there doing his work and doing his stuff he's supposed to do in the center, and, ends up helping that team sort of, come back. It was Tucker Lepley in there at the end, which, again, I don't think enough gets said about Tucker Lepley. He is one of the few guys on this team who can do his best. It's like, if I could talk like Jack Nicholson, right? If I could talk like Jack Nicholson, you'd be like, man, that kind of sounds like Jack Nicholson, right? But it's not Jack Nicholson. We all know that. So whenever I say this, Tucker Lepley does his best Riqui Puig sort of impression, and he can get out there. And occasionally you see him being able to turn, be able to move quickly side to side, be able to open up pockets, be able to dish forward and move. Tucker Lepley's another guy who's probably on the borderline bubble about whether or not he comes back next year and just everything that sort of goes on. But it's a guy who maybe you want to see get more time here as we stretch down these last 5 games in the league and what he can really do, because he has something there, Damian. It may not be perfect. It may not be refined. It's not this polished gemstone, but there's something there, and I think that he can play at a Major League Soccer level, whether that's with the LA Galaxy or somebody else. There's something there for Tucker Lepley. So interested to see how he sort of finishes that out. Player of the match day, Miki Yamane was named to player of the match day team or team of the match day. So he was on there. Novak Micovic got robbed. He should have at least been on the bench in this. I'm just saying. I know Dane St. Clair had a great night, and especially if you watch some of those games, there were some crazy results, by the way. Again, just absolutely. I think San Diego losing 3-1 to Minnesota. That's the Dane St. Clair one.
Yeah.
Vancouver
7-0 against Philly.
Against the supporter shield leaders in Major League Soccer, the Philadelphia Union lost 7-0 against Vancouver, and Thomas Muller is in there. So you're seeing some things are starting to round out. The fact, Damian, that I think Galaxy fans should enjoy this playoff stretch, because there's some crazy cool teams. Columbus at points, you were like, oh, they're winning 5-0. They were leading Atlanta United 5-0 in Atlanta, and you're like, game over. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. That game ends up 5-4, and Columbus probably got lucky that they didn't lose that game. So 9 goals in that game, right? So just some little crazy games here and there, and you're watching it play out. And this game, the LA Galaxy drawing with Seattle, another one that we should point out was a wacky game. That's not a game that should have happened. You have the wooden spoon holders at the current time going up against Seattle, who many of us, including myself, have pegged as MLS Cup favorite. I think Seattle's going to be fine. Somebody did point out to me that maybe they're peaking too soon, Damian. All right, so if you look at Vancouver peaked too soon, and now they're coming back. They're here for the second wave, and maybe at just the right time. So maybe Vancouver jumps into that Western Conference as a favorite. Right now, San Diego losing at home 3-1 to San Diego does not a Western Conference make. It's like one of those that doesn't work. San Diego at 56, Minnesota at 54. That was a huge battle there. Vancouver at 52 points in third place. Seattle should have had 3 more points. Should have been at 48 points. They didn't. They only got 1 point. So 45 points in fourth place. You have LAFC, who I think beat San Jose. What was the final on that? Do you have it in front of you? I don't have it. 4-1? 4-1? I think it was 4-1. I think you're right. I think Son scored like seconds into that game.
Then Buanga had a hat trick. 4-2.
4-2. Okay.
Yeah. Then once the playoff situation, it's always the format. Well, it's sort of that first round format is just so crazy because you play one game, you wait a week to play another one. So I don't know. It's like after that round, if we don't see any upsets, I think that from then on, it could be some crazy matchups. But look at that first round matchup, Seattle LAFC possibly.
Yep, 4-5 Seattle LAFC. Three game series, right? 3 game series, Seattle LAFC. Which, by the way, I'm signed up for. Like, I'm in on that. I'll watch that all day long, every day. I want to see those 2 teams battle it out. That could be an MLS Cup decider right there between who wins that game, right?
Yeah.
Portland it seems like they should be pretty comfortable. Austin on the bubble in terms of the last guaranteed playoff spot, and then you have Colorado, San Jose. Real Salt Lake, Dallas, even Houston might even still be in there. Yeah. After that, it's Kansas City at 27, St. Louis at 25, and the LA Galaxy at 21. You'll notice that on this chart that we have, there are no teams have been eliminated from the playoffs on the Western Conference side. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Conference side, there are 4 teams who have been eliminated from the playoffs. It is Toronto, Atlanta, DC United, and Montreal. Montreal and DC United battling with the LA Galaxy for that wooden spoon. Galaxy currently 3 points back from that wooden spoon with a game in hand. So Montreal is right above them with 24 points, and that's DC United with 25 points. All right, so that's how that sort of plays out. If you wanted to see the The Supporter Shield standings, it is Philadelphia, who lost 7-0. Weird, wacky things to have happen. San Diego right behind them, who also lost, right? Then it's FC Cincinnati. Hey, wait, don't the LA Galaxy play FC Cincinnati coming up this weekend?
There'll be a town.
Maybe you should show up for that one. We'll see. But yeah, so FC Cincinnati, then it's Minnesota and Charlotte and Vancouver and Nashville and Columbus, Orlando, New York City, Miami. Miami, by the way. Now in the 8-9 spot in the Eastern Conference. Still, by the way, they have at least, in some cases, they have 4 games in hand on Philadelphia. So I don't know that anybody should panic yet, but they don't look great. That was certainly, they played Charlotte, and Charlotte just beat the ever-living daylights out of them. There was a lot of Miami in that game, and then all of a sudden Charlotte was winning that game, and it was sort of like, oh, okay, and then it didn't stop. So watching that happen, Charlotte is a real contender right now, which is an interesting thing to sort of be looking at as well. So 3rd place in that Eastern Conference. So again, it's MLS. MLS is MLSing hard right now, Damian. That's what we're seeing, right?
Yes, of course. That Supporter Shield race will be fun to watch. Phillies 50, like you said, and then of the teams with 50 points, what do you think the cutoff is? Is there a cutoff?
like 50? Let's see.
Maybe Vancouver.
Like Nashville on the East is 50 points, right? I mean, Nashville lost their game, and I thought they were playing pretty well. Vancouver,
maybe
52?
Maybe just the top 4. Maybe just the top 4 that are still in the mix there. But Charlotte has, a 10-game unbeaten streak, I believe?
9-game win streak at home. So I don't know if there might be another one, but there's a 9-game win streak at home, which ties the Seattle Sounders for the longest home win streak. So that's Charlotte absolutely tearing it up right now, 1.77 points per game. You can look at Vancouver, though. Technically speaking, Vancouver should jump over Charlotte if you're looking at points per game, 1.86 to 1.77. So, yep. So they have 2 games in hand on some of those. So Vancouver is very much in. So add 6 points to Vancouver and puts them into 58, and 58's enough to get you to the top of the table. So interesting. It's fun. I know the Galaxy are mostly out of it. Although I should point out, and I did start it at the beginning, the LA Galaxy only have one elimination scenario, and it has nothing to do with their result. The Galaxy can do whatever they want against FC Cincinnati. It is whether or not Salt Lake City, so RSL, will beat LAFC. That's the only way the LA Galaxy get eliminated from the playoffs this weekend, is if Salt Lake beat LAFC, which is crazy, by the way, because the last time there were 3 scenarios, and now there's one, and all the other 3 scenarios sort of relied on the LA Galaxy's result to do something, and in this particular case, there is no result in which the LA Galaxy can do something to themselves or not do something. Even if the LA Galaxy won this game against FC Cincinnati, if RSL beats LAFC, the Galaxy would be eliminated from playoffs. So
Yeah, but did Greg say the other day that they sort of know where they are, and he's like, we know what's going on here.
I think I asked him, I asked him, because I don't think we're watching the standings, It's so one of those, I think we know where we are. Everybody, you're right. That's not a wrong take, Greg, 100%. So that's going on. Before we get on to, let's go over the schedule, because I think that'll sort of wrap everything up. The Galaxy will play against FC Cincinnati on September 20th. That game's 7:30 p.m. at Dignity Health Sports Park. That game will be on MLS Season Pass, and we're expecting a 7:40 kickoff time. All right, that is on September 20th. On September 27th, the LA Galaxy will host Sporting Kansas City. Then it's the October 1st game, which is Campeones Cup. That is LA Galaxy versus Toluca, where the Galaxy will host Toluca. Then you'll go into October 4th, where the LA Galaxy's last. So here's the crazy thing, Damian. The LA Galaxy only have one more road trip all year. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They go to Dallas on October 4th, and then all the other games are at home.
You take that back until the start of Leagues Cup. They've only had 3 road games?
Yes.
In 3 months, which is
well, at one point I think they were +4 or +5 in terms of away games versus home games, and so now you're finally getting caught up, right? This is that final stretch. But the problem with that is, because you generally underperform on the road and overperform at home, if you have more road games to start, you're going to show yourself as underperforming, even if 16-game winless streak doesn't help you in any case and situation. I'm not saying that, but it does put you at a disadvantage where if you're trying to watch a scoreboard, you're on the road all the time and you're constantly thinking, we should be better because we should have more home games, but we haven't had any home games, and so therefore we don't have, like you can go look at the points per game the Galaxy score at home versus the points per game the Galaxy score on the road. Both of those things are easily calculable, and you can see it. Let's see, this is the away points. So right now the Galaxy are at 0.44 points per game on the road. All right, so like nothing, right? They don't have a single win all year, but they do have, I think, 6 draws now, 7 draws. What is it? Let's see, I have it right here.
I think 7.
Yeah. So in total 9 draws total, right? So and all that. So you can sort of see where that is. But if we go into the home portion of this, the Galaxy are at least above a point a game at home. So with we could extrapolate out, Damian, if we'd like to, the Galaxy averaging 1.08, I believe, points per game. At home with 4 games, they should have another 4 or 5 points by the time the season's over. Right? That's not a great thing to be looking at, but still, it's better than what the 0.44 is. It's almost a third better or 2/3 better than what the 0.44 is. So that's something. The other thing, I looked at this chart real quick, and there's a faint yellow line down here that's the worst LA Galaxy team ever, and then there's this dark blue line where we're tracking 2025, and those 2 lines need to meet in order for in order for this year not to be the worst LA Galaxy season ever in terms of points. So that's something that I know. Maya Yoshida has talked about not wanting to finish last in the league. That's something they're all fighting for. They've talked about, I heard John Nelson say the same thing. There's a belief in there that they can win enough games to claw their way out of the wooden spoon. And watching Montreal play, I think they probably have a pretty good chance. I'll say this, Damian. You watch the LA Galaxy play, and then you watch Montreal play, or you watch DC United play, or you watch St. Louis play, and that type of thing, and they don't seem like they're like, one of these things doesn't belong there, and it's the LA Galaxy right now, and that's crazy to think that they're actually the one with the lowest points right now out there. So again, just something to sort of watch a little bit there. I do want to talk about one thing, and this is a big thing. We are Corner of the Galaxy will be at Galaxy Mania, which is the season ticket member event, the annual season ticket member event put on by the LA Galaxy, from 12 to 4 p.m. at Dignity Health Sports Park. I believe it's going to be out at Galaxy Park, and they have a whole bunch of stuff to do there. Live in the ring, luchadores, right? So we're going to get some wrestling there, a whole bunch of stuff. There's going to be player appearances, there's games and prizes, and everything that you can imagine will go on at Galaxy Mania. We are currently scheduled to go on at 2:30 p.m. and stop at 3:30 p.m. So we have some stuff sort of scheduled for that in terms of who we're going to get to talk to. And I do believe that there's going to be a concerted effort to make sure that even if you're in line, that the audio will be broadcast across the entire event whenever we're doing some of our stuff, so that way you can still hear us and what we're talking with. We're hoping to talk to some of the front office guys, maybe get a player or two in there as well. So, but please come out and join us if you're a season ticket member. We're excited that the LA Galaxy thought of including us, so thank you for that. But we're really excited to get out there and just have a good chat for an hour out there at this Galaxy season ticket member event at Galaxy Mania. It's gonna be real wrestling, Damian. You can get into this. Like, just tell them you're covering it. Like, it's not a big deal.
Hey, I'm looking forward to I might come up for the wrestling alone. I might jump in the ring.
See, I knew this is the problem. Is they were like, hey, there's going to be wrestling. I'm like, really? Like, you guys need to speak to Damian or Hammer. Like, I am so not the right. My dad used to just yell, "That's fake," and I'm like, yeah, that's fake. Like, I didn't know, so I never got into it. Like, he was a dream killer. I don't know what to tell you. He wasn't. He was like, go practice your baseball or something. That type of thing. So, but no, I'm excited that we'll be there and we'll get to say hi. I should be there for the entirety of the event as well, and so we'll sort of tell you where we're at. We can do meet and greets, say hi. I'd love to talk to everybody who gets a chance to be there. So we will be there. Happy to be there and excited and looking forward to it. So that's on the Galaxy Play Cincinnati on September 20th. On September 21st, on Sunday, is when the season ticket member LA Galaxy Mania or Galaxy Mania kicks off there from 12 to 4 p.m. So I am certainly in there. By the way, QN Bruce says Josh and Damian tag team. We should get in there. That's what we should do, Damian.
Hey.
So
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to take any bumps yet, man. I'm a little too old to be taking bumps.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I feel like that's also something that could certainly cause me problems. I can't get out of bed without hurting my back or doing something on knee. We were just talking about it was Edwin Cerrillo on Thursday who came out and goes, now that I'm old. Edwin Cerrillo's 24 years old, right?
24 years old. No, I'm old. Come on, Edwin.
There was a time back in the day that I was like younger than most of the players on the team, right, Damian? Like whenever I was there, I was like, oh, I'm younger than most of these guys. That's cool. And then suddenly I was the same age as most of the guys. And then now all of a sudden I couldn't even be a goalkeeper in the league anymore. They would be like, that guy's old. He can't make it. So there is a good, somebody was asking about season ticket member. The positive thing, I know that if you're not a season ticket member, that obviously you can't be in on the event. But one of the things I'd like to say is that our interviews, we'll record those. We'll record that show, and then we will be able to put it out afterwards. So you'll at least get that part of it from us. So that was part of my thing was like I get to put out the podcast afterwards. So at least we'll have something there. So we'll be able to talk a little bit about the game against Cincinnati, and then I really think the focus should be on what does it look in the off season and what does it look like next year, because I think we all sort of saw what happened this year, and so now how's that going to get corrected, and you can sort of see what's next year. So that's what I'll be focusing on there. I'm looking at some of these things. If you are going to that FC Cincinnati game, again, that game kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Kickoff is actually 7:40 p.m. on an MLS Season Pass. We do have the stadium giveaways. There's a poster in there. There is a Freddie Fresco is going to be doing the pregame live DJ set. They are raffling off the player sign gaming pre-match tops, pups at the pitch, all that stuff is going on in the whole deal. So I am very, very interested to see how everything sort of plays out, and how FC Cincinnati, because now we're talking about Damian. Seattle was a top in the conference team. Cincinnati is the top in a conference team. Wynder is like just causing so many problems. And if you go back and watch the replay from that FC Cincinnati game, guy is just on fire right now. Was in Portland, then ends up going to FC Cincinnati, and Pat Noonan and friends. One of my favorite coaching staffs with all the people who are on there. It seems like Cincinnati's flying. I would expect they're coming to LA to get 3 points. That would be my expectation.
Yeah, but maybe it's sort of like what we saw with Colorado. Maybe they sort of overlooked, which should probably be painful. He played in the qualifier on Monday, and I think he said he was back either late Tuesday night or early Wednesday, and he had to be tired.
Yeah.
I mean that was a long trip, but so maybe him and Peck might be out there together. Maybe that's sort of some kind of impact that'll have.
Yeah, I'll say this, that I think Cincinnati is very strong in the center of the field, especially whenever you look at Wynder, and I think that's one of the weaknesses the Galaxy have right now. So maybe it's a Lucas Sanabria time. Maybe it is, Diego Fagundes in the center. Maybe it is Edwin Cerrillo having one of his more monster games. I will say this about Edwin Cerrillo. He says, he's old now, so I'll call him an old soul in that he seems to invite more contact as the year has gone on. He's always been scrappy, and he's always been looking to get in there if anybody's pushing or shoving and the whole deal. But I feel like he's starting to be somebody who looks for the contact and is a nuisance about it, right? Like if you're going to go through the middle, then Edwin Cerrillo is going to be chopping at your heels and chopping at your feet, and he's going to hit you a little late sometimes, and he's going to just make sure that he's there all the time. And so seeing Edwin sort of progress as the six, and I think you were even talking to Greg about Edwin Cerrillo, right? About sort of his progression and how he sees it. What did Greg sort of tell you about Edwin?
Yeah, I asked him about what's the next step that he wants to see him take, and he wants to see him sort of grow into a leadership role where he's sort of able to get on guys a little bit, hey, you should be there, you should be there, you should do this, you should do that. And Edwin agreed. He sort of said that he's sort of working his way through that as well. Because last year he was around, Gaston and, all these veterans and then most of the time this year he's with Sanabria, now with Elijah Wynder. So now he is the old guy compared to those two. So he's sort of growing into a more of a leadership role. I looked at his stats, and it's his first. I think he set a career high in regular season minutes played, which is crazy because it seems like he's been in the league for forever. He's only 24, but there's still some growing to do. He knows it. Greg knows it. So it's always, these games are all important for him as well, to see how can he take this to build upon next season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. By the way, Adam, $10 super chat says, He goes, I know this might not be related, but did you guys go over comments of supporters from posts Galaxy posted today saying Happy Hispanic Heritage Month and Happy Independence Day to Central America? I have to imagine that went over about as well as a lead balloon, knowing everything I've sort of seen in some of these. But they are celebrating both Jewish Heritage Night and I believe Mexican Heritage Night as well coming up against Cincinnati. So that's going on. They have the ticket packs for that as well. And then there's an extra time for the DJ, et cetera, at the Amex Stadium Club, which, by the way, if you get there fast enough after the game, you can see Damian and I cruising through the American Express Club on the way down to I give high fives on the way through there. So we'll certainly.
I'm sort of running while looking at my phone, so I don't really see people. I just like dodge in and out, looking at my phone. I shouldn't do that, but
we're gonna get Damian out of his shell. Like Damian, I think needs to sing some karaoke or something at the season ticket member event. Something that breaks him out. Clearly I'm not a wallflower, and I like to. I don't have any problems going out there and having fun. Whole deal, but Damian, you're a little more like bookish. Like you're like I'm just gonna hang out here. I'm gonna type up my story. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna be quiet. Sort of hang out in the back. I get that. I'm the loudest one at the press conference. We know this 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure when I'm not there, you all talk crap about me, because whenever any of you are not there, we talk crap about you. That's how that works. So we'll get there. The LA Galaxy getting ready to head off against FC Cincinnati. Again, that game 7:40 p.m. is your kickoff time. Dignity Health Sports Park coming up on Saturday, and then the LA Galaxy season ticket member event, the annual season ticket member event, Galaxy Mania, Sunday, September 21st, again from 12 to 4 p.m. Make sure you RSVP for that ASAP. I don't even know if those are closed by now, but wanted to tell you that we will be there. We are planning on doing a show. So that's what we got. Damian, anything else that you want to sort of close out about the LA Galaxy? Any surprises for this week? Anything else? This might be your last time on the show this year. Kevin's apparently coming back. I don't know if that's true, but he says it. So
who knows? All I know, the Kings are in camp pretty soon, so he's going to be covering hockey somewhere. And then there's probably some kind of. I saw him do a story on, what was it? Was it Reggie Miller riding a bike the other day or something like that? Or
if the bottom line is, if there's something about sports to cover, then Kevin Baxter is your guy. Send him to Indianapolis and he'll do a story about horses. It doesn't matter, which is quite a feat.
He's all over the place. It's been fun. The last 4 or 5 Mondays,
weeks?
Whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I lost count. Looking forward to closing this season out. I mean, if you think it's tough for the players to go through a season like this, try covering a team that's in last place. You run out of stories to write, but it's still somehow still make it happen somehow. Pretty good stretch here. A lot of home games left. I'll be around the stadium a lot, training as well.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is, Damian, that once the season ends, there'll be about a week and a half where it's quiet, and then we'll be busy for the rest of the time trying to figure out exactly what the team is going to do and the whole deal. And I feel you on trying to figure out things to talk about, because I do 2 hours of talking this season when it's fine. Like I said, just watch the RSL game, that RSL versus LAFC game. LAFC, if RSL beat LAFC, the Galaxy get eliminated from the play. It doesn't matter what the Galaxy do, could beat Cincinnati 17-0. It will not help them. That's the only thing that can have the Galaxy eliminated. If they somehow make it to October without being eliminated, I'll be amazed. But right now,
that'd be fun.
Damian, get through this week, and then you just have to worry about whatever this Kansas City game is. Get through that. You made it into October. That's all.
Hey, so, you're right there.
You're right there. And we the whole time we were like, oh, the season's, but technically it hasn't been over yet. That's the crazy thing. It will be over eventually. I'm not saying the Galaxy are making the playoffs. But there are there's some people who are starting to believe in the Discord. They're like, man, they're going to win every game from here on out. That's it. And they're going to somehow make the playoffs, right? It's going to be
never give up hope.
Don't do it. So we'll certainly see. All right, Damian, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we'll get on out of here.
LA Daily News, Orange County Register, Press Telegram, Daily Breeze, Riverside Press Enterprise. It's all over the place, either in print or online. Social media, I'm all over the place. Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Damian Calhoun, pretty much the same, all across. You find me at Dignity Health Sports Park, maybe about every other day.
Yeah, it feels like it.
For every Saturday for the rest of the year almost.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, perfect, Damian. Thank you. We appreciate you as always. If you're looking for me on any of the socials at Galaxy Podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com, of course, where you can find all our stuff. YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, any of the places you can find your podcast, you can find Corner of the Galaxy. All right, that does it. LA Galaxy, FC Cincinnati coming up on Saturday. We'll have a show on Thursday to get you ready for that. And, of course, season ticket member event on Sunday. For Mr. Damian Calhoun, I'm Josh Patrick Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.